Welcome back, everybody. I'm excited to announce that I just figured out how to use the chat. So if you want to say hi, do so over there. I will return the favor. For now, just know that we have a great several sessions to look forward to. And always don't forget that we have the town hall later on this afternoon with Brad. And it's not about us anymore, any of us that you've been seeing speaking. No, it's about you. We want to hear feedback and how you've enjoyed it. If you haven't, how we can improve. If you're ready to go back to live conferences, all of that good stuff. So we're excited to share the knowledge and talk amongst everyone in just about an hour or so. Until then, let's talk about the office. Are you ready to go back to the office? Do you never want the office to open again? What are your thoughts on that? I love my home office, but I think it's high time to get back to the real one, you know? So for now, I'm going to welcome Clelia Peters and Ryan Gorman, CEO of Coldwell Banker.
Thank you so much, Katie. I hope everyone had a great lunch. Delighted to be here with you, Ryan. Do you want to just quickly tell us where you are?
Sure. I am in Morristown, New Jersey, not far from our headquarters, just a quick bike ride away. It's North Jersey, right outside New York. And I'm in my middle school son's bedroom.
I think when we did the prep call, you were sitting somewhere outside. So I guess this is...
That was delightful. I think the sound quality would probably drive your tech team insane, so I'm indoors today.
Well, I just wanted to start off, and this is not kind of on our agenda, but I wanted to acknowledge what's happening in the world right now and really give you an opportunity to, acknowledge that as well, because I think it's a significant and somber moment for us.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Significant and somber, and hopefully action-oriented here in the very near future. Obviously, a lot of folks have made a lot of statements. I was at a protest last night, actually, over by our headquarters, just down the road here, and there a lot of the dialogue was about. It was a protest against silence, essentially, a very very focused conversation. It was a lot of the conversation was around a movement, not a moment. Which I think a lot of people, including myself, hope that that's true. But it also struck me that we don't need to wait for that. We don't really need to wait for society to sort of really pivot, to really change in a meaningful way, for us to commit to changing in a meaningful way, to really commit to not just words, but actions. Words are a great start. Actions where the rubber meets the road. Even if we're not sure what to do, to really kind of commit to some of those actions. We have, just from a Coldwell Banker standpoint, not to make it about us, but there's a lot that we started doing prior to George Floyd's tragic death. And this, I think, can help to focus a lot of our energy on that and focus a broader movement on that. And there's a lot of very specific things that can be done. So I'm hoping that movement, not a moment, is just taken really personally. And folks don't wait for everyone around them to agree with that, for them to start action. And before you know it, results start to show up.
Yeah, I really agree with that. And I would just say that I also think for all of us who've been, born into and raised with the privilege of having, white skin, we have to do the work of dismantling almost, the racism that exists in each of us. Because really, I think all of us have been raised with certain assumptions that may be so natural to us that we have to do the work, in allyship of really examining that and dismantling that ourselves. So I did just want to.
I'm glad you said that. That's it's important. It's uncomfortable. We had an amazing event yesterday within the company, within Frugality, where our African American and Caribbean Employee Association shared just so openly and so personally and just phenomenally in ways that really helped, I think, a lot of people, including me, but a lot of people to understand some of what you just said for ourselves, to sort of own those things and to be introspective and to be open and to be vulnerable and to make some of those real commitments. But the protest last night, I went with my kids, and it's not their first protest. They've done many, but I didn't think twice about my personal well-being or my personal safety. I had, I know a lot of the police officers in the community, friends of ours. Like, it never in my lifetime have I really worried about my own security, my own personal well-being. Even when I lived in neighborhoods where there was significant police presence and whatnot, and yet today, what a lot of our colleagues and friends and family are sharing is that that's not their reality, and it's important for us to understand and own that.
Yeah. Well, that is, yeah, I think it's an essential foundation for all of us, that this work is public in some ways, but I think particularly for those of us with, the privilege of being white, this work really starts with dismantling our own prejudices, which I think for everyone in our society are really deep. So, it's a fun pivot to go from there into talking about offices, though I do think that offices, place is really important, and how we create place and bring people together is really important.
Yeah.
So, these conversations are happening against the backdrop, obviously, of the pandemic. And I think increasing recognition that a lot of trends we might have been seeing around place and offices are really going to accelerate. And so I'd love to hear from you. You oversee actually a brand that has been well known for its physical presence and place.
Sure.
How are you thinking that's going to change in the years to come?
Sure. I think you highlighted it well in terms of some of the acceleration of what's already been taking place for a long time. And I think that's true. We've obviously been around for more than a century, so the office has evolved quite a bit over that time. But in terms of the more recent past, so on the Coldbanker Realty side, the company-owned operations, we have over 700 offices. And when you include the affiliate operations, our franchisees around the country, around the world, it's more than twice that. So we have a lot of physical office presence, which means we are present in a lot of communities. What our presence looks like and feels like has evolved over time. So, for instance, less square footage, more open square footage, but still very much part and parcel of the community. And when I think of office space, when I communicate about office space, a few phrases that I use to try to focus everyone's minds into where we're trying to go here. So, one is focusing on what's the intention of the space itself. Right? The space needs to do work. Right? It's not just there. It's part of our value proposition. It needs to do real work. That work of where you come. You should never need to come to the office. You should want to come to the office for coaching and collaboration and connection and community and culture and to do your solo work, but mostly to do your collaborative and connected work in that office. And I also talk a lot about less rent and more happy hours, because our offices are becoming more open and oftentimes shrinking in terms of square footage, but we're investing more in the culture and community aspects of that as well. So that'll continue to evolve into this. I think we probably maybe talked about it before in terms of the hybrid structure of that physical as well as digital presence, which I'm sure you're experiencing some of that as well.
Yeah. So talk to me about, what you think that actually looks like in practice. What do you imagine your offices look like versus what's happening digitally?
Sure. So just very practically speaking, I mean, we're seeing some of that acceleration. Some of the acceleration we're seeing recently that I think will be sticky is not the nobody comes into the office thing. I just don't think that's really how we're geared as human beings. I get that there's a diversity of opinion on that, but we are a gregarious group in real estate. We like to get together. We are remote workers. We are all, we're working in our clients' living rooms and at home, in the office and everywhere. So having that place to connect is good. However, we've also, that expression of you never need to come in, you should want to come in, means that you can do anything and everything you could do in the office, you can also do virtually. So that hybrid space is really making sure the tools are able to deliver both ways. So as an example, office meetings. If I'm a manager hosting an office meeting, Tuesday morning meeting, for instance, I'm broadcasting it. And today, this is within Coldbanker Realty, how we're doing it. So I'm broadcasting it. So even the folks who are there physically in person, great, you're here, but we're also filming, broadcasting, and recording it for anyone who's not physically in the office. And they can watch it later or watch it simultaneously with us and fully participate through video or through chat. And it's also automatically transcripted. So if someone says, oh, we had a good conversation about X, Y, and Z, or you just want to see the wants and needs section of the meeting, later you bring it up, you can just search it, type in the terms you're looking for. It's automatically digitized the transcript and goes right to that component of the meeting that you've recorded. That's one example of one of those hybrid aspects where we're still having the meeting we always had. And it still has the attendance it always had, which means half the people are here and half the people are not here because they're out in the field doing the work. they used to just have to miss the experience. They don't have to miss it anymore.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful example. What about, the physical? We did talk about this before, like physically, I think that there are going to be fewer kind of desks and you come in and you sit, I would say at our brokerage in New York, at any given time, more than 50% of desks are unoccupied. And I think probably a similar thing for you.
Yeah, so it's an interesting. We're talking about sort of this evolution. I happened to be with PricewaterhouseCoopers when Coopers and Lybrand and Pricewaterhouse merged together, so 20 years ago or more than that perhaps. And they reformatted their office spaces at the time, and they moved to this hoteling concept. So more than 2 decades ago, I'm sure you saw this all the time in consulting world. You'd come in the morning, you'd just swipe your badge, and you'd be assigned a desk, right? And we never were at capacity. We probably had a fifth the desks that we needed if every human came in at the same time, but that never happened. So we never had to worry about that. But I do think office spaces like ours have evolved and will continue to evolve where it's much more open desk space. Obviously with COVID-19, openness has sort of, some challenges with it as well. But that kind of hoteling, that kind of concept of people getting in, getting done what they need to get done and getting out, Wi-Fi obviously working seamlessly. Like any one of our agents can walk into any one of our offices around the country and immediately be on the network, going, printing, connecting, doing whatever they need to do, and then get out. That kind of open desk space is very popular. We've done a lot of lounge style retrofits. We've done a lot of sort of open seating. That's terrific for the office meeting, for when you're getting the office meeting or when you're inviting in the community for a dog adoption event or a PTA event or a civic association event. It's great for open seating. For working, it ends up not being as ideal for many people. That actual desk, the physical desk of a chair and a place to sit, for more than kind of like an hour or two of work ends up being what people are looking for more, but we're constantly experimenting with that. We have, fortunately, a very large portfolio to experiment with, so we're constantly working on that. What we found is that kind of hot desk space, far and away the most popular. The lounge space, wonderful for more of the event type planning that we do.
Yeah, and you actually have a relatively concrete timeline. You think that most Coldwell Banker offices will transition to, more of this layout in the relatively recent or near future, let's say?
Yeah, so one of the things we learned from the last downturn, which fortunately is nothing like this downturn, is short-term leases, there's trade-offs between short-term and long-term leases, right? Long-term lease, a lot of security, a lot of certainty. Short-term leases allow you a lot of latitude. Renegotiation with the landlord, potential relocation, or merging together. If you acquire another firm, merge together, you can kind of do what you need to do. A lot of our leases are in that sort of 3-year time frame, which means as each lease comes up, we actively decide whether we're going to keep the layout as it is, or we're going to work with the landlord to try and retrofit that into more of what's needed for the moment. So that's really given us a really good forcing mechanism for constantly refreshing and constantly staying current. The number of Office of the Future retrofits we've done over the last 2 decades is amazing. The principles stay the same, but the weighting of those principles shifts a little bit over time. So for instance, if we're in a market or an office that has more solo practitioners than team members, then that requires a bit of a different dynamic and different mix.
Yeah. So I think the other thing that's interesting to think about here is historically, office has been one of the biggest fixed costs for brokerages.
Sure.
And as that cost maybe diminishes somewhat, there is hypothetically money left over. Where do you think that money goes? Well, what do you think the brokerage offers instead of space?
Yeah, I think. I think it's not either or, it's more. So I think in terms of where it ends up getting redirected, it's support, it's software, it's splits, and maybe some sangria. I think the concept of
Hopefully
support. Yeah, so sangria. So we'll get to the last one first. I mean, when I say that, I mean sort of that more happy hours, less rent kind of thing. I mean, I think that the sort of cultural connection, it's super important and it's not free. So if you don't budget for it, you're not going to do it. So to the extent we invest in the cultural time, the networking time, that sort of non-business, but we can't help but talk business kind of time that we end up creating that space to create culture and community. On the front end, that sort of support side, support takes so many forms, right? So it's business coaching, it's strategic coaching, it's calls with me. I do so many calls with agents who are just looking to understand where, at least I think, the business is going over time, so they can strategize for themselves, for their own business, for their team setup, however they're looking to work. That's part of that support service. In addition to the transactional support and the tools and the technology, I think software is an increasing component of that. But it's software to I joke that software makes us bionic. It doesn't replace us. It should make us more efficient, work more quickly, and lots of software is good. The software you know how to use is great. So a lot of that, it comes in the education side too. Making sure that we're supplying that training, that education, that handholding to ensure that people are efficiently using the tools we provide or the tools that other people provide. So more investment in a lot of that support, software, and splits. I mean, it's just a fact. Splits, whatever the economic arrangement you as a company have with an agent, it comes down to some level of economic sharing, with the vast majority going to the agents, of course, as it should be. But that increasing split is also a place where some of that former rent dollars go.
So you're envisioning a world where splits do continue to rise for agents. Brokerages do continue to offer more. And some of that comes from the fact that we're reimagining the model of some of the fixed costs that historically have been associated with brokerage.
Yeah, I think yes and no. So I think the pressure on splits for sure will go up. I think in any industry you look at, you never get paid the same price for the same product year after year, right? You've got to be constantly, and if there's a competitive market, which there is certainly for real estate, you've got to be constantly improving and reinvesting in that. What a lot of agents are finding is that they are, over time, let's say look at the last 10 years, they're reinvesting a lot of money themselves in different things. Whether it's time or money, they're reinvesting for components that maybe their broker doesn't provide or they choose to opt into from someone other than their broker, et cetera. So if a full service broker really wants to engage in that coaching and the masterminding and the software support, as well as the office space itself, right? It is that community and connection. It's not just cold AC and hot coffee. I mean, if that's part of your overall value proposition, then I don't know that your economic arrangement with your agent needs to shift. And it can even become more favorable if the agent is getting much more value from their broker. And that's the key. Some of that value has to be delivered, in my view, this is my opinion, sorry, I get on my high horse, has to be delivered directly to the consumer, right? So if the franchisor or the broker, Gold Banker is both, is able to provide value that the agent can deliver directly to the consumer, that changes the game. Some of the products that we've rolled out we've seen exactly that. We've seen the average broker commission rate increase, not decrease, because of some of what we're providing to the consumer. And that changes an agent's, rightfully so, perception of the value proposition in a way that can be favorable for both. So that's really the holy grail.
Awesome. Ryan, it is always such a pleasure to talk to you. And I'm inspired and excited to see what's going to happen. I actually think the unlocking of the value from fewer fixed physical assets into different kinds of support to our agents is a really powerful and positive force we're going to see in the next few years.
I agree with you. Always a pleasure. I wish it were in person. And right before we started, the question for the community was around when they're going to be comfortable getting back together. Whatever the answer is, I hope Inman publishes it, because I want to know that too, because I'm very eager to start getting back together with our groups as well. So thank you so much for the time.
Thanks, Ryan.
Great big thank you to Ryan. You very rarely see someone in his position being so incredibly transparent about splits and offices and what the future looks like when it comes to those things. So we appreciate you very, very much. Now, coming up in just a few moments, we are going to talk to the CEO of NAR and the CEO of Florida Realtors. I'm very excited about it, so stay tuned. Welcome, Bob and Margie. How are you?
Great. Thanks to be here.
I'm doing great. Thank you.
I feel like the two of you are old pros at this by now. I can only imagine how many hours you've spent in front of the camera in the last 90 days. And we talked a little bit last week as well. I want to really focus on, I remember last year, the year before, there would be conversations with members to say, what is NAR? What is my state association doing for us, and so on. And I can't be more proud to be a member of NAR sitting here today because of the changes I've seen and just the massive the benefits that you have rolled out to our members. So can we touch on that and just talk about in general how you all have handled the last 90 days? Bob?
Sure, Bob, why don't you go first?
Yeah, sure. Well, I will tell you this, certainly as I said the other day, I'm going on nearly 3 years as the CEO of NAR. And I will tell you, there's not one guidebook that I have found yet on how to lead an organization in a pandemic. So myself, along with many other CEOs in this country, talk to each other. And I don't mean just in the real estate vertical, just anywhere nationally. I'm a member of the Chamber of Commerce 100, which is 100 top CEOs that talk regularly. And we're doing the things that make the most sense to engage our members. That has always been a challenge anyway when you have 1.4 million members. For me personally and our organization, we're very, very engaged on social media. We do lots of in-person meetings, but all that stops certainly with the in-person component. So we've been doing these kind of events, our own NAR events, Zoom meetings. I literally got off right before this, I was on with the South Carolina Association of Realtors Board of Directors. So we're actually finding that we're engaging more firsthand, being able to hear what our members are asking us, talking to us about. So in the end, it has actually been what I think is going to be the template for what our new norm is going to be when this pandemic subsides.
Margie?
And Bob makes a lot of great points. The one thing I've always admired about realtors is their ability to pivot in a time of crisis. And this is not the first crisis they have endured. In my career, I've seen issue after issue come up, and every time they come up with a solution. And they certainly did the same thing here. As an association, as we saw this all start to unfold at the end of February and the beginning of March, Bob and myself and our colleagues around the country, we immediately had to move to make sure that the products, tools, and services that we provide to the realtors across this country weren't interrupted. Because when you have practitioners who are all of a sudden being asked to work from home and work virtually, the tools and services that you give them to help them with their business could never have been more important. I look just at Florida and I look at our tech helpline and our legal hotline. They became two of the most popular phone numbers that our membership had. And these are free calls to our members here in Florida, where they were able to call and overnight, my tech analyst went from, answering a question about, why something was showing up on your screen one way, and now talking about what is the best setting on your computer for Zoom and what is the best camera to use. And, across the hall on our call center for our legal hotline, the questions went from, can I advertise this way? Can I do this to get a closing done? Can I rebate this amount? To how do I hold this deal together, knowing that the buyer or seller may have a crisis with regard to this virus. So myself and my colleagues around the country, we immediately looked at ourselves and said, you know what? Everybody go home. Everybody go home. Everybody ramp up your internet and do not allow these services to be interrupted. And we had historic highs to calls on our tech and legal hotlines, specifically related to the COVID-19 crisis. And it's been fascinating to watch. And I've spoken to Bob and my colleagues across the country about the tone of these phone calls, because they started sort of inquisitory. They were just kind of asking questions. What if, are you seeing this? What if that happened? To, hey, this is a real serious conversation. Help me keep this transaction together. To, we've been told to stay at home and shut our doors, at least temporarily, and we're concerned about how that's going to impact our business. NAR was amazing in terms of their advocacy efforts, which you can talk about. So it was questions on the Paycheck Protection Program and the EIDL loans. And then it was to our vulnerable population, the pandemic unemployment. And now, amazingly, here in Florida, we've now transitioned back to transactional questions. We've moved away from that fear and that concern about what might be. But I mean, it's been an incredible 2.5 months.
I would have to agree. And Bob, I know that I wanted you to elaborate on the paycheck protection as well, but I also want to, because I feel like I wouldn't be doing the viewers justice if I didn't ask you. Do either of you, both of you, want to elaborate on what's going on? I just spent 45 minutes watching the news in between first session and this part. Do you want to talk about what's happening in the United States right now?
Sure. Look, it's a terrible situation that we're all living a part of, but this is not a new issue. It's been ongoing in our country for years. One of the things that we felt was important, and like many organizations, we put out a very important comment under Vince Malta, our president, but it was something that we felt very strong about and wanted to really make sure that we let America know, the folks in local communities, how important equality and fairness in housing is all about. I mean, that is what our mission is. And this is not a new mission for NAR and certainly our state or local associations and our members. What I feel really good about is that months ago, before all this situation started, we doubled down on fair housing. We brought in a director of fair housing right before the end of last year. We created a program called ACT, which I won't go into all the details, but it really deals with how do you make sure that the industry is better prepared. What can we do to make sure housing is at the forefront of everything? I met personally with Secretary Carson with our leadership team at HUD to say we're announcing all these new fair housing programs. We wanted to make sure that we can be the voice of equality and fairness in housing. We didn't want there to be unconscious bias, which we know there is. So we're providing training programs out in the industry with top professionals to help us on this. We have to change the culture of the country in the housing arena. So this gives us actually another opportunity to also have a voice with consumers and with our members to say, despite the terrible situation and the unjust situation that has occurred and has been occurring, let's put our stamp on the important parts of the industry that we serve.
Thank you, Bob, for that. Margie?
I think he said exactly is, one of the things that have been going on between myself and my officers has been an in-depth conversation with regard to the fact that, Florida Realtors is a diverse family of business advocates. And we have always come together to support stronger communities. I think myself and my colleagues, we all stand united against racism, as is our entire membership. We have spent, tireless hours promoting fair housing across this country, and specifically here in Florida. And, I'm so proud of Florida Realtors and the fact that we really have had a long-term commitment to this. Specifically is we were one of the first state associations to have a diversity committee. And when you look at the events that are going on nationwide, it is so incredibly tragic. And as I have conversations with my own teenagers and explain how every one of us has not just the obligation to say something, but to do something, I look at what my management team has done that had been in the works way before all of this happened. Just last Thursday, in a virtual environment with hundreds of realtors, we held an event called Celebrating Your Roots and Growing Your Future. And it featured guest speaker Billy Deck, who is a nationally renowned expert on diversity. And it was just a fantastic presentation on empowering yourself because of who you are and where you're from. And I commend my colleagues across this country for stepping up and speaking up about this issue, and to the brokerage community and the realtor community as a whole. Realtors are so incredibly resilient, but there is also no group of people who care more about their communities.
And I appreciate you both touching on that as, the absolute top leaders in our industry. I've been so impressed about seeing the message that have been going out over the last, 48 hours. And personally, I'm in Houston. I told you all that last week. Bob Hale is my local leader, and just all of you working together to make sure that we're protected and we push towards more equality with the momentum that we've picked up means so much to all members. Bob, I would love for you now, because I think it's just so great. Can we talk a little bit about the paycheck protection and how that fits in and how it was implemented?
Yeah, in fact, I think, and it's not just paycheck protection, it's all the federal programs that came out of the CARES Act. NAR has been a very strong force. We're one of the most powerful lobbying organizations in Washington. And it's not a matter of just sending letters out to people, but it also means the contacts that we have in both the House, the Senate, It's, clearly on the legislative side with the administration itself, with regulatory agencies. We've met with the Treasury. We've met with the Secretary Scalia at Labor, who I'm part of an inner core of 8 CEOs that meet with him regularly. We touched those contacts and said, look, we want to make sure we're the voice for independent contractors, because many of the programs that came out under the CARES Act and are still being worked on with another stimulus package that we've been engaged with the White House as well as with the Congress are really for folks that weren't independent contractors. And so we said we needed to make sure that our voice was heard. So the PPP program, the Paycheck Protection Program, actually is going through another iteration. It was passed, I think it was 417 to 1 in the House, was approved by the Senate yesterday, and we expect the president to sign it today with another extension with it. There's greater forbearance in that program. There's additional dollars in that program. There's all kinds of components to that. But I think it's important. Let me go back to where the independent contractor piece is. The Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program, for example, NAR was the big voice for that, because we're the largest association with independent contractors. And I think all of our members know that traditionally you can't just file for unemployment. States don't allow that with the way our independent contractor status is. So we were the voice in Washington, and others joined us, fortunately, to be able to say, look, we need some relief for our members when real estate went 150 miles an hour to zero and everything stopped. What do we do about those independent contractors that depend on commissions to stay afloat, to feed their families, to keep their businesses and their doors open? So the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program is a federal program. Now, again, unemployment insurance comes through the states. The PUA program is that program that we work very closely with the Department of Labor on. What it requires is that the states contract with the Department of Labor to be able to get access to the PUA funds. And then that way members can go through and say, look, here's my situation, here's what I need to deal with, and they file. Now all states work differently. Some states require you to file for regular unemployment, get turned down, and then file under the PUA program. But again, if you're not sure what to do there, check with your state unemployment and labor groups, and they'll tell you what to do. But every one of these programs, the SBA small loan programs, again, we represent exactly that, small businesses in this country. We represent independent contractors. We have commercial practitioners. We got elements of the 1031 exchange program modified. If you go to nar.realtor/coronavirus, we actually update regularly, almost every day, changes and guidelines as to how the laws are impacting our members. And so that's a great resource to use. I know Margie and her state has done the same kinds of things. We work hand in hand at the state and the national level and the local levels to help our members.
Thank you so much for that, Bob. And we're going to have to wrap up soon. But Margie, I wanted to ask you on a state level, is there anything else that you'd like to share?
So the one thing I would encourage all states to do is make sure that you are in constant contact with your members with regard to safety. As the country is coming out of the shutdown orders and we're all starting to open up, Florida is no exception. We are going into phase 2 tomorrow, where our bars and our retail can go to 100% capacity tomorrow. There's obviously some concern about that, but it's also great news for the economy. So realtors came to us and said, hey, we're ready to show property in person again. How do we do that? Well, we were so incredibly fortunate that the Florida State Surgeon General contacted us and said, I need your help. I need your help in protecting the public. I need your help in protecting the realtors. So we were able to put out written guidance that he was able to review, create input, as well as ask us to post his website on this document. So when realtors are going out there, they have the opportunity to know that the highest medical professional in Florida, this is his advice. And so we're incredibly proud of that. I cannot iterate as much how amazing the collaboration has been through this crisis on the federal, state, and local level. Without my partners on both ends, we would not be in the position that we're in, where realtors feel confident that their businesses are resuming and they are back out there selling real estate and renting real estate. We have a lot of challenges in front of us, but I want to thank the National Association as well as all of my local associations for their partnership during this time.
Thank you both. I appreciate you all very much and for representing the members to the greatest of your ability. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See, I told you that would be great. I'm sure that you agree with me. Our local, state, and national leadership have just gone above and beyond over the last 3 months, and I sincerely appreciate that. And we will be back soon with more.
CoreLogic has created the future of client service with OneHome. We've designed OneHome to be an always-there digital extension of you. OneHome interacts with clients to discern what's really important to them in a home. OneHome now becomes your shared collaboration portal, where you go way beyond just beds, baths, and square footage to truly find what your clients need. Visit onehome.com to see why there's no place like OneHome.
I do feel like partnering with Side, the sky's the limit. My best year at my previous brokerage was 22.8 million. I always thought getting to selling 100 million would take me years. I never realized that I could double my sales volume in 1 year. I'm blown away, and I really truly owe it to Side.
Why use a bunch of technologies that don't talk to each other when you could use just one? Realtors, meet the Century Key showing service. It's the easy way to be more productive and organized from wherever you need to be. Schedule and manage showings. Reschedule automatically with Century Key Virtual Assistant for mobile. Share listings and appointments with clients. Manage your client roster. Open lockboxes, and so much more. Visit CenturyLock.com to get started.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Innovation Rally for the NAR Reach Class of 2020. My name is Laura Monroe. I'm the Global Head of Community here at Inman, and I'm also an NAR Reach Mentor, so I could not be honored anymore to introduce the NAR Reach Class of 2020 to our Inman community. The NAR Reach Class of 2020 is a class of brand new technology companies that are making traction within the industry right now, backed by the National Association of Realtors and created by Second Century Ventures. I'm super excited to introduce them to you today. And here we go. Welcome NAR Reach Class 2020.
Hello there, and thank you, Inman, for hosting us today. I'm here on the main stage with Brad Inman and Bob Goldberg. Actually, I'm here in my dining room in Greenville, South Carolina, working from home like the rest of us. I'd like to introduce you to Earnest. Earnest is how money moves in residential real estate. We've created a simple, secure, and compliant payment tool like Venmo or PayPal for the real estate industry. Earnest allows home buyers to securely and electronically deposit their earnest money directly to their selected escrow holder. You know, millennials don't really use checks, and wire transfers are expensive and present increasing fraud risk. And real estate agents are way too busy to be driving around picking up and dropping off paper checks for earnest money deposits. So we built Earnest, a simple, secure, compliant digital payment tool for realtors, brokers, escrow holders, and their home buying consumers. I'm Rick Altizer, CEO of Earnest, and we're how money moves in residential real estate. Thank you.
After 12 years in the real estate industry, I've been an agent, I've been a broker, and I've yet to ever hear an agent say, I love doing paperwork. I love scheduling inspections. I love managing deadlines. No, most agents hate those things. Most agents get into this industry because they love sales. They love real estate. They love chasing the next deal. And those are the agents that are using Transactly. My name's Brian Bowles. I'm the founder and CEO of that company. Transactly provides tech-enabled transaction coordinators to agents, teams, and brokerages across the US. On our platform, we're saving up to 16 hours per transaction. Backed by transparent technology, our coordinators are managing things like reviewing and chasing down paperwork, they coordinate inspections, manage deadlines, and much more. That's 16 hours that agents would otherwise spend on growing their business. We found we're inherently saving time for brokerages as well when it comes to managing compliance and paperwork for the agents that use Transactly. Transactly works with any back office or transaction management system you're already using. We have over 90 transaction coordinators on our platform and growing, spread throughout local markets, with the ability to manage transactions currently in all 50 states. Check us out at transactly.com and please step in to meet and chat with us virtually in the expo hall.
Solar, wind, timber, cell phone towers, oil and gas, all need access to your client's land. How can you help your clients get these lucrative deals and earn a commission for yourself? RealX. RealX is the nation's first and largest exchange to transact property rights. We have over 6 million acres registered in the exchange today. That's roughly the size of Massachusetts. Now, each of you has the ability to register your client's land in RealX as well. You know landowners that have 20 acres or more, maybe even thousands of acres. You know commercial building owners that have 30,000 square foot of rooftop for solar. This is a $50 billion marketplace that has gone largely untapped by real estate professionals. Our buyers search the database every day, making offers to you and your clients. They love it because they no longer have to send postcards, cold call, or put feet on the street knocking on doors. Your clients will have an advantage over their neighbors by being registered in RealX through you. Help your clients generate additional income from their property, generate additional commissions for yourself, and get started with absolutely no upfront fees. We are RealX. Find us at realx.io or connect with me on LinkedIn. My name is Luke Glass. Thank you.
Have you ever had a real estate deal fall through because of a home inspection? Well, after 15 years of selling real estate, I got tired of the inconsistent process that happens after a home inspection occurs. So 3 years ago, we decided to start PunchList. PunchList works exclusively with real estate agents to handle all the repairs off a home inspection in order to get you to closing. We focus on speed by offering you a 24-hour turnaround on all estimate requests. We focus on communications by providing you a dedicated success manager so you have one point of contact. And we offer you a turnkey service so you can do what you do best, and that's sell real estate. No more chasing down multiple contractors for quick estimates and quality repairs. And the best thing about this, your clients can pay us at closing. It's easy to get started. Visit punchlistusa.com, upload your home inspection, upload your repair list, and let PunchList knock it out from there. My name's Jimmy Banis, the co-founder of PunchList. Close faster with PunchList. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Matthew, Chief Product Officer at Igloo Home. At Igloo Home, we're proud makers of award-winning smart door locks and lock boxes. They help homeowners and businesses manage their properties in a simple, safe, and smarter way. Our products can help you enable contactless self-showings and rental experiences. There's no more operations pains in key exchanges anymore. You can now avoid physical contact and today's need for social distancing. Right from our mobile app, you can send PIN codes and Bluetooth keys from wherever you are to your guests and visitors. Our unique algorithm technology makes this possible with secure encryption and time synchronization. With this, you can grant access remotely, enjoy enhanced security, and track property access at your fingertips. This allows you to manage your properties and businesses with greater efficiency and peace of mind. Please drop me a question if you have any, and I'll be more than happy to assist you. Thank you very much.
Hi, it's Jason Harris. I'm CEO of Cartofront, and historically, flood risk has been a real major problem for realtors. It's confusing, it's time consuming, it can put a brick on a deal. And the reality is 41 million homes right now are at high to medium risk and don't have any coverage for flood insurance right now. And that's why we started Cartofront, to make it simpler and easier for the realtor to access information that they need to understand flood risk and flood insurance. We've built a technology platform that integrates directly into the MLS. It provides free one-click access to directional flood quotes, and then a bunch of educational resources for the realtor and for their home buyer. And best of all, we've wrapped the entire thing around a gold service promise regarding customer support. It's bilingual, comes with a lot of information, both in written form as well as online training through our YouTube portal. So if you have interest in learning more about Cartofront, you can visit us at our digital booth or cartofront.com. Thank you for taking a moment with us today.
Hi, My name is Max Misieni, co-founder of Kangaroo, a home security company. We were founded by a couple of ex-Googlers to make home security more affordable for everyone. Technology has evolved to the point where we can now have home security systems. The problem is that they haven't been affordable and they've been really complex. Right now, we're living in a world where home security is more crucial than ever, but only 20% of households in the US have it. At Kangaroo, we've launched an entire security system that can be installed in 5 minutes for less than $100 with a $10 a month professional monitoring fee optional. One product that we're launching right now as part of that is a doorbell camera, and I'm really excited about this. This is a $20 camera, and it optionally includes a $2 a month package theft protection plan. These are great things for closing gifts and tools to monitor listed property. At Kangaroo, we're really excited to do our small part to make home security available to everyone. Thank you.
Hello, this is Howard Tager, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Ylopo. Ylopo is a complete digital marketing platform that gives agents and brokers the most scalable, efficient, and transparent way to grow their business and teams. Best of all, Ylopo is a 100% done-for-you online marketing and advertising solution, so you don't have to worry about building your own technology or becoming a digital marketing expert, allowing you to focus entirely on the rest of your real estate business. We believe that agents, teams, and brokers need a different model for lead generation, lead nurture, and lead communication that provides better cost per close marketing returns than what is currently available, and actually promotes and puts your brand first, not the brand of another company. If any part of your business is built on digital marketing, we know that we can give you the marketing technology that even the biggest companies in real estate don't have. It's funny, I always get asked, what the heck does Ylopo mean? Ylopo is the last 5 letters of the word monopoly spelled backwards, signifying how we're helping teams and brokerages turn the ultimate game of real estate on its head to create a different and better world for our partner clients. I'd like to personally invite you to visit with us and learn more about our world, the Ylopo world. Thanks for listening.
I think it's my favorite thing, watching everyone do their videos, because they're so creative. Also, I've been embarrassed to ask everyone how to pronounce Ylopo, because I've been going around saying it really fast because I've heard great things about it, but I'm like, Ylopo. So it's Ylopo, everyone. Also, Punch List is amazing. And I'm embarrassed to say I haven't been in the chat until now. I have like 18 screens, but I'm just opening it, and Laura Monroe's amazing, as we all know, and she just posted a link where you can see everything that you just saw on that video, everyone that was showcased. So that's a plus. Now, with that being said, I just want to say again, how fun was the last 3 days? I appreciate all of you, and we're not done yet. We're just about to push into our final panel of the day. And then do not forget, and I'll keep reminding you if I have the opportunity again, Brad and Laura will be, if you look in your schedule, you will see our final session of the day, the town hall. We would love for you all to participate. So it won't be in the general session. You'll just go back to the main page, look at the schedule, and log into it there. But we really want to hear your feedback. We're really excited about it. So I thank you. I'm not sure if you'll see me again. You probably will. But it's been so fun, and I've learned so much, and I appreciate all of you. And it's pretty cool that you can feel so connected in the middle of Houston, right? In a space with only my dogs and my husband and my daughter. So thank you for that, and thank you for including me. With that being said, let's end it on a high note. I want to hear the future of the world, the future of real estate, how it's going to impact our industry. So please allow me to welcome, and please help me welcome, moderator Paul Boomsma and Matthew Ferrara.
Well, thank you, Brad and Inman team, and congratulations for hosting the industry's first major virtual event. I'm Paul Boomsma, President, CEO of leading real estate companies of the world, and our membership represents 565 market-leading, independently branded local and regional brokerages in over 70 countries. Today, I'm proud to interview Matt Ferrara. I've known Matt for a number of years, and his philosophy is simple: Brokers and agents need to forget about the past and learn what works in the present to meet the needs of today's consumer. Matt is a popular industry speaker who also serves as my Dean of Innovation for the Leading RE Institute. Matthew offers leadership training, management coaching, and instruction on modern sales and technology skills. Matt, when you agreed to do this session, I don't think anyone would have predicted what the world has seen transpire over the last 90 days. I think it's safe to say that we're at an inflection point in our society as well as our industry. And what impact has all this had on our future?
Well, thanks for having me, Paul, and thanks to the Inman team. Kudos on a great week, and also to everyone who has attended. It's just nice to see all these great minds coming together and doing our best for the industry, which is the same as doing our best for our society. It's just how this industry is so integrated into the fabric of things. And Paul, your question is, it's huge, and it's certainly one of those questions that I think we're all dealing with in our own ways individually, but as an industry, we also have an opportunity to address them. I think that when we say the words like inflection point and we say the words like change, we often have associated them with good things in the past. And right now we're struggling with associating them with, real negative challenges. Obviously a health pandemic, significant unrest in our society, problems that we have failed to confront in the past. And we're now, I'm confident we will confront. I believe that this is the time. But I think that on its surface, the very first thing that I believe we're already experiencing is what I would call a flight to quality, but a special quality. It's what I call the flight to quality of life. I think that people are using this time, whether it's just being at home and being surrounded by family, or looking at all of the massive changes to their personal and professional lives, as an opportunity to sit and reevaluate, to ask ourselves, what's really important to us? What matters? What is the purpose of our role in our communities and in our economy? And I think in a lot of ways, ask questions about what we really want out of our careers and our personal lives. I think it's given us a chance to maybe appreciate some things even more than ever before, appreciate our friendships, appreciate the safety and the opportunity that we do have, while recognizing that there's tons of work to be done in making sure everyone has can have those experiences as well. And I think that little things are starting to appear in terms of how we are pursuing this new perspective and flight to quality. One of them is just frugality. I mean, I just think that people are starting to look around and said, maybe I have to rethink the constant quest for having more stuff, whether that's doing more deals in our business, or whether it's having 30 pairs of shoes, or whether it's, I saw on television the other day an ad for Maxwell House coffee, which I thought, gosh, Maxwell House was born, I think, in the Second World War, right? I mean, the idea of like a can of coffee as a sort of frugal thing in an era where, before we were throwing $10 bills out the window for coffees at drive-thrus. I kind of see this all coming together, and I think it's not only about economic frugality. I also think it's about frugality in our relationships. Maybe we will look at all of our friendships and our peerships at work and our neighbors, and we'll say it's more important to have deeper, better relationships than to have, 10,000 of them or 10 million of them that we really just don't know, but somehow we were chasing them in the world before the last 6 months. So I do think this flight to quality of life is an interesting new perspective we're all going to see penetrate how we live and how we work.
That's awesome. Really interesting, Matthew. One of the things so many of us are dealing with, obviously almost everyone on this call, is working from home, which also means no commuting. How do you think that shift has changed our view of our homes and our real estate needs in general?
Well, without a doubt, I think we're all learning some interesting things about our economy and our capabilities. For starters, we're learning that it's quite possible to be very effective working from home. I think that's a surprise for many businesses, not just in our own industry, but in other industries. I've talked to a lot of senior vice presidents and CEOs that I mentor, and some of them weren't necessarily work from home advocates before this, and some of them are confronting the real positive aspects, that productivity in some cases is as good, if not better. For the real estate industry particularly, I think that creates a unique opportunity because I think we are going to reevaluate what's important in a home, how space is defined, how it's laid out, certain features like a home office or having just space where people can be quiet or alone as well as together. So I think home will get a little refresher, if you will, renovated, our definition of what it means for home. But I think it also will impact things like commuting and whether we choose to live where we choose to work. It could be quite possible that we'll see mobility increase in the next decade as a result of people saying, I would prefer to trade more space or maybe some different location than necessarily proximity because I might not have to take the subway, or I'm not willing to trade an hour each way every day in my life to sit in traffic. Again, we go back to quality of life decisions. The good news is that with all this technology, we're learning that maybe it is possible to work for a company that's located in a major city, but to live in, the countryside or the mountainside or the seaside and be just as effective and just as productive, but maybe trade having some more space or even just a better overall pace of life. I think this is also just good for jobs in general. It means that large companies can look throughout America and look for talent, and this might help people who don't live necessarily next to the tech boom or next to some, whatever the industry might be. It might help them actually secure jobs in places that aren't necessarily tied to their local economy or their state economy as we as a society get very comfortable with working at any distance.
Terrific. I think that's really good news to a lot of folks. I know that some of our housing inventory that's been kind of looked at as being a little obsolete is some of the larger homes, some of the McMansions that had bonus rooms and things like that. And those really weren't being perceived as current for today's buyer. So I think this actually gives them a little new hope. And that's a nice change. You're saying our traditional location might be getting modified. It's more of a location and lifestyle, since the homes are no longer just in bedroom communities and close to your place of work, but could be in a location that, like as you were saying, outside of an urban area that will be better for the rest of your life. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Well, I think there'll still be 3 L's. We used to say location, location, location. But, when you think about it, those L's just might get redefined as a result of everything that's happened in the last 6 months. It might end up being location, lifestyle, and actually leadership. And the way that I think of that is that real estate has always occurred at a very special place in people's lives. It's really not about what people get when they buy or sell a home. It's who they become that matters, right? They become the person who has finally earned the home that they wish to have, or they've become the person who has achieved a certain career stage or is retiring and is celebrating a career well lived. So real estate occurs, as I've said in the past, at the corner of life and change, right? So that's where we show up as real estate professionals. Now, the good news about that is that we're helping people move to the next chapter of their lives, and that will always be the case. It's why real estate will always be such a wonderful and vibrant place to work. But when we think about it, we start to ask ourselves, well, if it's if location is only one part of the equation, if the lifestyle that people want to lead and the leadership, meaning the community they want to be involved in, the place in which they want to play the role as an entrepreneur to get involved in everything that's involved in being in real estate. It's not just homes, it's being involved in politics, it's being involved in philanthropy, it's being involved in advocacy, it's being involved in all of these different things. I think what happens is that people might actually look at their choice for real estate and where they live and where they'll work and say, you know, I think a larger equation is at play. And now let's go back to the issue of if they're not spending 2 hours a day, 10 hours a week, 3 weeks a year commuting, maybe they now have time to be more involved in their society, to be more involved in politics, in making change, in making a difference, not just buying a home. And so now what happens is real estate actually gets so tied up into the fabric of societies. It always has been, right? It's always impacted schools, it's always impacted local business, et cetera. But now real estate really becomes an engine of progress and an engine of change. And it means the real estate professional adds that third L, that leadership element to it. So people will tell us a little bit the lifestyle they want and location, but then they'll look to us and say, but I also want a place where I can make a difference, where I can be engaged and involved and not just go to work and not just, you know, sit at the pool on the weekends. I'll do some of that, I'm sure, but I also want a place where I can make a difference. So I really think that, you know, real estate and society are so intertwined, and we're going to see the role of the real estate professional, I think, be elevated even to a degree that we hadn't quite anticipated in the past.
That's very interesting. And, you know, technology, you're exactly right. It's made all of this working from nearly anywhere possible. But with those technological advancements, how do you see that this is going to relate to the actual home sale and purchase process?
Well, the coolest thing, to be quite frank, is that technology is our middle name in real estate, right? So when you think about it, this is the most adaptive industry that I know of in the economy. I mean, I've been in this business for 30 years, and, you know, everyone likes to somehow perceive that technology has happened to us. No, technology has happened by us. This industry grabs onto technology and pushes it and tries to make it do even more than what it could do. You know, it's fascinating to watch, you know, when a new technology is introduced, not only do real estate professionals say, okay, I get what it can do, but they almost immediately say, and can it do this? And can it do this? And can it do this? So that's kind of cool about us as an industry to begin with. But more importantly, I think that technology is now perceived as a way to help consumers get ahead of their needs. And what I mean by that is something like this. Currently, we're looking at, I think, some emerging technologies that substantially change the equation. It's not about servicing consumer needs. I think it's turning into anticipating consumer needs. So let me give you a couple of quick examples to make this simple. First of all, think about simple possibilities like signage, right? So currently, real estate signs are all about real estate that is for sale, number one. And number two, it's designed for someone who might drive by or walk by and see it. But what happens when signage simply becomes a feature of every GPS-enabled device that we have? What if our devices have apps on them in which we've put preferences about where we like to eat and where we like to work and where we like to sit and read a book and where we like to walk when we have time to walk? And now that app is really us-centric, it's people-centric, and it's constantly listening through GPS to the neighborhoods, and not only for property that we might have walked by and seen the sign, so property we haven't seen, property that's not yet listed even could be there as well, because the apps can start to anticipate. You know, maybe we've even told these apps, and we've told our real estate professional things like, gosh, I would always love to have lived in that building, lived in that neighborhood, etc. Well, it could even be that these apps start to create anticipation. It's no longer about search. It's almost about pre-matching and pre-thinking for the consumer. And so we're presenting opportunity to consumers. We're not just servicing opportunity when they present us with a need. I think that that will not only expand options for people to buy and sell property, but it will bring a new vitality to this industry, an anticipatory industry is going to be a lot less subject to supply and demand shocks, and will even help create opportunities where we're letting demand decide what inventory should come into the market, as well as supply, give it hints that people are in the area, just, not even necessarily searching just yet, but they're in the area and they have a profile, they have needs that we can easily tap into to encourage people to bring their property into the marketplace. So, I mean, I look at this technology and I think that, we're on the cusp of changing the equation a little bit. I think we're on the cusp of changing it from a service to an anticipatory. And what's nice about that is it makes it even more consumer centric, but it also makes the real estate professional even more valuable, because this technology will surface these opportunities and it will take that time away from the real estate agent having to do that, and instead free them up to make the opportunities turn into success, turn those opportunities into closed deals.
That's terrific, Matthew, and I think a very positive look to our future. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that the past 2 weeks have delivered a harsh look at the reality of the world we live in. Many of us that were at Inman in New York in January were already shocked to hear firsthand the fair housing investigation and violations that were presented during that Connect. However, the past 2 weeks have shown that this is not just about fair housing. It's a much bigger societal issue. What are your thoughts on the next steps on how to correct and move forward to heal this situation?
Well, Paul, this is, I think, almost full circle with where we just started our conversation. I do believe this is an inflection point, one that's revolving around the concept of quality of life. And it's a time for us to stop and consider and make sure that the answer is a quality of life for everybody at all times. I mean, look, as a philosopher, I'm always looking at sort of the deeper meaning in the things that we do. And all of work is an act of philosophy. And real estate inhabits a really special place in the world, because we're intimately connected with where people work and live and play and raise families and grow personally. And all of that is about social issues and social opportunity. So real estate's always been alongside social change. We've always been right next door to all social change. And the interesting part is, in that existence, we've already done so much good work, fair housing itself, advocacy in so many diversity markets. I think about the organizations like the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals, ARIA for Asian Real Estate Professionals, NAREB. I look at NAGLREP. I look at all the different things, women in leadership. And I say to myself, gosh, the real estate industry is already at the forefront of so much of this social change as well. And since we're good at change, because we're trained in just our business to listen, to be fair, to try and find a solution in which everybody can be successful. It's not about win or lose, us or them, right or wrong, but good for all. I think that we are going to recognize an even greater positive role for us in real estate. We've been doing this all along, and I think now what we're maybe seeing is that we're going to be called upon to do it even more. And let me just say this. This is not just something, that I have sort of made up or tried to rationalize into the circumstances around me. For the last 30 years, this is what every great leading real estate company in the world has shown me how they operate, whether it is independents worldwide, people with franchises worldwide, small companies, big companies. Every company I've had the privilege of working with, every person who calls himself a real estate professional, who's part of any of these organizations, who wears the realtor R, we've always led by trying to not just make money, but to do good. And it's something I learned from my mentors, David Horowitz, from you, from people who have taught me so much along the way, that in our special role in the real estate industry, because we help people walk across the street where they were standing at one corner of life to the other corner of change, this is really our fight to lead. This is really our opportunity to make change a reality. And to be honest with you, I'm so positive about the future, so optimistic about it, because you and me and everyone on this call and everyone within the sound of our voice, we've been doing it all along. And as a result, I think this is this is a time in which we're going to see great positive change happen. And I think it's time for us to be the leaders of that change.
Well, Matthew, thank you so much. These were some inspiring words, some wise words as always. And now let's take it back to Katie. Thanks so much.
Hey everybody, I'm back. You're not through with me yet. I want to touch on one thing, and I'm speaking on behalf of myself and only myself. I feel like I'm probably speaking on behalf of everyone at Inman, but I was reading through the comments, and Lizette Torres mentioned that she wished the moderators acknowledged what's going on a little bit more so, and didn't just use the term racial inequality, because when you use terms like that, it just kind of silences everything and brushes it under the rug. And I want you to know, as far as I'm concerned, I'm sick of trying to make sure I say the right words in these situations, and I just want to use this entire audience to get out there, and the next time that you see hate, the next time that you see someone being treated differently because of the color of their skin, say something. Don't hesitate because you're worried about what that person's going to think about you or whatever. But I am so done. I'm so done with it. I'm happy to be a part of this community. I'm happy to see these comments. I'm happy that we all talked about it this week, but we need to talk about it more. And Lizette, thank you. I'm acknowledging it, and I wanted you to know that. But before I go, also, I wanted to see if one of you would do me a favor maybe and take a screenshot of what I'm about to do and maybe send it to me on Instagram. It's Katie Kosiv. I want you to give some love to my partner during all of this. Hold on. I'm taking this out, guys. 1 second. Oh. This is Callie Bean, and she's been glorious. So, Callie Bean, wave goodbye to the Inman family. I appreciate all of you. Go over to the schedule and watch the town hall with Brad and Laura. I appreciate you. Thank you. See you next time.